Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment meeting for Monday, August 26, 2024. If you give me just a few moments, I have to briefly go over the meeting procedure. All persons in attendance at the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment, the PCBOA, meetings are expected to comply with the following meeting procedure. Thank you in advance for help making this a manageable meeting. Copies of agenda item materials are available for public viewing on the table located at the back of the meeting room. These materials are not to leave the table so that others in attendance may also view them. Please turn phones to vibrate/off during the meeting and conduct any sidebar conversations outside of the meeting room. Interruption or other interference with the orderly conduct of the PCBOA meeting will not be allowed. Defamatory or abusive remarks are always out of order. Disruptive persons will be removed from the meeting. The chair may terminate a speaker's privilege of address if, after being called to order, the speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks. Written material concerning agenda items must be submitted to the Environmental Services Department by 3:30 p.m. on the Wednesday immediately prior to the meeting date. Written materials will not be accepted after this deadline or at the meeting because the PCBOA will not have sufficient time to review them prior to the meeting. Such material must state the agenda item for which it is being submitted and the name and address of the submitting party. Planning Commission business is conducted first, followed by the Board of Adjustment business. The chair will call the meeting to order and explain the meeting procedure. The chair will read each agenda item into the record and ask that the applicants come forward to the presenter's table, state his or her or their names and address for the record, and explain his, her, or their request. The PCBOA will then discuss the agenda item with the applicant. The chair will then ask for public comment on the agenda item. To facilitate an orderly, efficient meeting, there is a 3-minute speaking time limit per speaker agenda item unless the chair allows a speaker additional time. The chair may terminate the speaker's privilege of address if, after being called to order, the speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks. When the chair recognizes a speaker, she or he may approach the audience podium and microphone, state his or her full name and address for the record, and write such on the speaker log, and then share his or her comments. The audience podium microphone must be used by the recognized speaker because the meeting is recorded. A member of the public may not donate his or her speaking time to another speaker. A speaker should state his or her comments and address the issue, not the applicant. All comments are to be directed towards the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment. Please do not repeat comments already made by previous speakers. The chair reserves the right to ask a group with similar comments to appoint a spokesperson. And if written comments have been submitted to the PCBOA, please do not read them aloud during the meeting as they are already part of the record and copies thereof have been given to the PCBOA. After everyone wanting to speak on an agenda item has done so, the chair will close the public comment period on the agenda item. No further public comment will be taken after this point. The chair will give the applicant an opportunity to address issues raised during public comment. The PCBOA will then continue its discussion on the agenda item, and the chair will entertain a motion on it. The PCBOA may make a motion to pass, deny, or table the item. Once a motion is made or seconded, the PCBOA will develop findings of fact for conditional use permit and variance applications, and then vote on the motion. Once a vote is taken on an agenda item, the PCBOA will move on to the next agenda item. Meetings commence at 6 p.m. and continue until all agenda items have been heard or until 10 p.m. No new agenda items shall be considered after 9:45 p.m. The PCBOA may, at its discretion, continue an item that is on the floor at 10 p.m., but any remaining agenda items shall be continued to another date, time, preferably the immediately following Tuesday at 6 p.m., and no further public notice will be provided for such a meeting continuation. The PCBOA, through the chair, may modify these procedures prior to a meeting or agenda item. Okay, thank you very much. And we are doing that tonight. Instead of Planning Commission first, we will start with the Board of Adjustment first. Right now, we'll be going over the approval of the July 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any comments on the Board of Adjustment meeting minutes?
This is Mike. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Thank you, Mike.
This is Larry. I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Larry. I have a motion by Mike, a second by Larry to accept the meeting minutes as presented. Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. The meeting minutes have been approved. Moving on to old business. Variance application 29-B-24 by Laurie, Koehly, part of Government Lot 8, Section 22, Township 141, Range 33, Mantrap Township on Spider Lake, a recreational development lake. Parcel 20.22.02200. The applicant is requesting a variance from Section 702 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for a proposed expansion of a non-conforming residence located in the shore impact zone. Do we have the applicant available? Thank you. Yay. If you could, please have a seat. Nope, you could have right up front. Yes.
Laurie Koehly, 23976 Hardwood Drive, Nevis, Minnesota.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, if you just want to give us a brief description of your application.
We'd like to build a addition where the deck is, 10 by 20, take the deck out, and make a master bedroom,
Okay.
bathroom.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, for the record, this application was originally on the June meeting agenda on the June lot view day prior to the scheduled lot view time for this application. The applicant withdrew the application, so the board did not conduct a lot view on this property. Then in the morning of the June meeting, the applicant canceled the application withdrawn, resubmitted the application with some changed application date to Monday, June 24th. The application was thus placed on the July meeting for consideration. The applicant was unable to attend, and the board tabled the application. So, ta-da, here we are.
I'm here.
Thank you. Just had to give a little feedback of why we're so behind, so I appreciate you. Does anyone have any questions at this time for the applicant? Well, I'll start off. This is Veronica, I have a question. You did mention that you're going to take off that section of the deck.
Correct.
And then build your master bedroom from there. So the height of the structure you have as 10 feet, 12 feet?
12 feet.
Yeah.
Right now, it's 10 feet, and he said it'd be an additional 2 feet.
Okay, perfect. But it's going to be from the ground, not
Yes.
from that
Yeah.
deck, because that was the questions I had when we were there, so perfect. What you have residual left on the deck there that's lakeside, do you plan on doing anything different there? How are you going to
No.
change your stairway there?
Well, we were thinking the stairway would come
Move towards the lake.
Move over?
towards the lake.
Still come off this way though?
Right.
Okay.
This is Ken, and you have no plans to put a deck beyond that or replace the deck at
No.
all?
No,
So, okay.
no, we're not gonna extend it.
If there's no further questions, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment. And seeing no public comment, I'll close public comment. Have you had any feedback from your neighbor that's closest to you on this?
She's waiting to see if I'm approved, because then she's gonna call you.
That's kind of how it trickles.
They're all on board.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Ken. I think one of the things noted is, and lots of times we ask that, I think a condition to consider is that you make sure there's a gutter along the whole lake side of the cabin, and that the downspouts are such that it will direct the water away from the lake.
Yeah, that's
I-
what
I'd
we
like
did with the
to-
garage.
Yeah, I'd
Yes.
like to add that as a condition to any approval that we do.
This is Veronica. I agree, and I'm glad you agree, and you're open to that. Perfect. Well, I think this is a reasonable request, 10 by 20 addition to the 22, or 20 by 32 single-story cabin to have a larger master bedroom is a reasonable proposal. But because it sits in the shore impact zone, it does require this variance. It is going off to the side and not lakeward, so that's an additional plus. Anybody else have comments, questions?
Would you like a motion?
That'd be great, Ken.
This is Ken. I would like a motion that we approve this variance request with the condition that the front lakeside of the house have a gutter installed. And I recommend we accept the staff's findings of fact.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
This is Mike, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ken with the condition that gutters to be installed on the proposed 10 by 20, or the whole addition, lakeside addition of the cabin, and the discharge away from the lake, and adopting the staff's findings of facts with Mike second. Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken. I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
It's Mike, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica, I vote aye. So you'll receive a decision letter from Environmental Services directing you on what the next steps are.
Okay, terrific.
Expect that in
Thank
a few
you.
days or so before, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that is it for old business. Moving on to new business. Variance application 39-V-24 by John and Janet Zubell, Lot 6, Block 1, Ojibway Estates, Section 19, Township 141, Range 33, Mantrap Township on Ojibway Lake, a recreational development lake, Parcel 20.48.000600. The applicants are requesting a variance from Section 502.2 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for a proposed deck to be located within the 100-foot ordinary high water mark structure setback. Thank you very much. You would like to please give your name and address for the record?
John Zubell, 21656 Hedgerow Lane, Nevis, Minnesota.
Okay, thank you, sir. And you have your contractor with you?
Yes.
Perfect. And you can go ahead and state your name and address too, please.
Ron McLean, 23386 County Road 80, Nevis.
Thank you. Okay, then you want to go ahead and give us your proposal?
Well, we'd like to build a deck. I think it's the length of the house, but it'd be 14 foot off the ledger board. And it does encroach on the setback. The original setback apparently was not measured correctly or something of that nature.
Okay. Okay, do I have any comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, this is Ken. Obviously, the point of understanding or misunderstanding is the fact that there's about a 12-foot difference between the 100-foot setback that was measured after you built from what you assumed was the setback, which supposedly was measured in 2012, sat there dormant for, what, 8 years or so. Can you retrace for me what transpired from when those initial flags were placed? Did they ever disappear? Did you always have them marked? What led you to believe that in fact that was, when you marked it for the contractor, that you in fact did know that those really were the 100-foot setback locations?
The flags were set by the county, and we had hired a contractor in 2012 to build. But we backed out of that deal because the lake water had receded. We were kind of worried about how, what direction that was going in. So at that time, I drove fence stakes in the ground where the flags resided. And I painted the top of those stakes orange.
Okay,
They sat there the entire duration, were never moved. They'd always been there.
so those fence post stakes, metal stakes we saw there that you claim was original marked, they've been there for how long?
Well, since the original
Since 2012?
2012, yes.
They look relatively new stakes. Were they
Those
replaced?
stakes that we set up were just, I'll give you an idea what the boundary was. When they excavated and did a backfill, those stakes were gone. They were removed by the excavator, I guess.
He had a marked out in there. He needed room to put the dirt in when you dig so you don't drive over it. So he put it right where the stakes was, where we put the black fence up to keep anything from running towards the lake. That's what we followed, those lines, and then when it was all done, you leveled it all off, and then the stakes were gone then. We'd seen no reason to keep them. There was no intent to be closer to the
I
lake.
think,
That's,
yeah, I think our board is very questioning a 12-foot difference between the measurements, and that in fact, were those really, was somehow, was there a mistake made with regards to where those stakes were, or when you marked them off and put in the black retention stuff, they were misplaced? I mean,
they stayed there when we put up the black fence to stop the runoff. And then when he, all done, he leveled it all off, and that's where the house went. You know, so we believed when we started, we had the excavator dig, we were 20 feet from those stakes, so we would be able to put the deck on.
Eric, the ordinary high water mark, that's back to, I remember, 2006. So there's been no change in the ordinary high water level for the lake at all? Okay, I'm okay for right now.
This is Veronica speaking. I want to go back to a comment that you made, sir. You said that back in 2012, the water was receding, correct? Do you know how far down the water was back then? Do you have an estimate?
I couldn't tell you. It's pretty flat down there. So I would say probably, might be 15, 16 feet.
So
Towards
very
the
similar
lake.
to what you have now? I mean, you have photo documentation in here in your application.
It's, I would say it's close, but not near as low as it was in 12.
So do you think maybe perhaps when your contractor came out, they actually took the measurement? I know you mentioned that their measurement was done by the county, but I mean, when the stakes were removed, after all the dirt was placed, if you went back and measured it all, you think maybe you measured from further down instead of?
No, I didn't measure it because we moved up the hill on that, so we should have been far enough from that stake to build the house.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
when was the house actually built?
2019.
2019, the permit, I thought what for application was for 2020,
It could have been, I just,
and that was in October. Was it in October of 20 that it started, or was it actually completed in 21?
No, started in October of 20.
And
Because
fin- Finished?
initially, that's when they started the excavator.
Okay, so that 8 years after the initial setback was established.
If there's no further questions at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment. Okay, seeing no public comment, I will close public comment. This is Veronica again. During the lot views, I asked about the interior design of the house, the kitchen and dining. That's all on the east side, is that correct?
I'm
The
sorry.
kitchen and dining, it's all on the east side of the house? When I was, during the lot views,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
So the sliding door or the French door, whichever you have there, that's the kitchen dining area,
It's between the kitchen and,
family room?
well, it's actually the family room kitchen.
Okay.
Excuse me, it's the kitchen and the dining area, because, or.
This corner of the house here, though, is the kitchen, or the dining
No,
room.
that's the living room.
This side is the living room.
Would be
other
on the
side
we-
is dining
west
area,
side.
And the kitchen is forward, or back of the.
As I look at this, the left side of the doors here is
This closest window area, what is
the
it?
closest window area here. What is that there?
That's the living area.
Okay, and then you have dining and kitchen in the opposite side?
Yes, it's be dining forward, and the kitchen would be behind the dining area.
What's the far window?
The dining area.
This is Ken. Why didn't you build the deck when you were building the house? Why did this come up subsequently? Why didn't you put?
Money. I mean, I've got a lot invested in this property, and I just, my wife and I decided we'd probably want more of the interior finished than to have a deck. We could do that later on. And that was the reason.
So for economic reasons, you just held off on it?
This is Mike. I see this similar to a application we had last month where someone built and then discovered, for whatever the reasons, that they were too close to add a deck without infringing on the setback. 8 years is a long time to go from a marking to build, and it's always, in my mind, the builder and owners, ultimately the owner's responsibility to know where those setbacks are. I will have difficulty trying to approve this because I can't answer question number 3. It falls upon the owner to know where things are going. There is limited room for an access outside of that double door and a limited deck going on this picture towards us and then wrapped around to meet the setback. So I'd have a hard time granting this particular application.
Thank you, Mike, for your input.
This is Tim. I have a question for Eric. Are these specifically requested for the OHW, or do you just automatically check that with the permit application?
It was a site visit request that we received in 2012 that
So,
prompted the.
so the OHW would have been confirmed? I mean, they're not guessing from a drop off of,
No, they're going off a set elevation using a laser level.
okay. Thanks.
They usually go to a judicial mark and establish what the current lake level is relative to the ordinary high water mark, and then they're able to mark the ordinary high water mark and measure back from that. They're very diligent about it.
This is Veronica speaking. Have you, do you have a plan B? Have you thought about a wraparound porch?
I have not.
'Cause, I mean, it kind of seems like, you do have some options there, even if this doesn't get approved because of the situation that's involved. You do have some options still, that you can have an exit out that door and a wraparound porch on this side of the house that would meet setback requirements.
Are you gonna do public comment?
I did.
You did, okay, because I had some comments I wanted to
go
make.
ahead.
Oh, okay. I know what Mike said. What's probably a little bit different about this situation, we've run into this many times, but where people come in, build right up to the 100-foot mark, and then decide they want a deck. In this particular case, the building permit had a deck on it. It was pre-planned. And that at this point, only about half the deck would be in violation. And I guess the point I'm trying to get at is that if in fact this was done in good faith, and only half the deck is in violation, and it was on the original permit, and there is contention over the old and new markings, would it be reasonable for us to think that, and I understand the question 3 is findings of fact 3, but would it be reasonable? It doesn't affect the lake, doesn't affect the neighborhood or the view from the lake, so there's no other impact of it. Would we be more reasonable considering approving it? I'm looking for views from my colleagues.
This is Larry. My understanding is the original permit or plan showed a 12-foot deck. Is that correct?
It's a saying 14 by 32,
The
and that's
original,
what they're asking for.
no, the original was 12.
The original permit.
Originally,
Correct.
it's 12 foot from the concrete to the house, and then you have a 2-foot overhang, so that would make it 14. So you'd be 12 feet from the house, and that's what originally, but wasn't gonna be built, so that's why we stayed back at that stake, so we could put that in on a later date.
I guess for my 2 cents, I would like to see the original 12-foot deck, not a 14.
I didn't pick up on that.
You can live with that.
Anybody else have any other comments on,
Your posts are at the 12-foot mark now. Is that the idea? And you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
go beyond that? Okay. So if you take 2 feet off of that, you're a foot and a half not in compliance on the left side of the screen, and you're 8 feet in non-compliance on the other side. I'm looking for comments from my colleagues,
correct,
because
yeah.
I'm thinking that maybe reason, even though it is a violation, I don't think it was done, what do I want to say, consciously or with full intent of violating, but rather through just
right, well,
not getting the measurement done again.
Right.
I think to Mike's point,
no, I appreciate.
8 years is a long time for something to sit dormant, and when you're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in a structure, you'd think that you would have maybe asked for a remeasure to be sure, especially considering the lake conditions.
Yeah, and this is Veronica speaking. That's where I was trying to establish, because the site inspection does show where the water line actually was and where your ordinary high water mark is. And I was trying to see maybe when somebody mismeasured there for as far as when you started the actual building, because it is kind of straight across there. But I can see both points, Ken and Mike. So, Tim, how do you feel?
I agree with Ken that you can mitigate something in there.
I'm going to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this application with a 12 by 32 foot deck, not 14. And you probably want findings of facts from me.
Yes, please.
I think for question number 1, let me read the, come on, Ken.
You want me to read it?
And you
No, I wanted to read the thing, okay. Is the variance in harmony with the general purpose intent of official controls? I would say the 12-foot variance was discovered after construction, but the building permit planned on the deck and was very explicit in trying to meet the 100-foot setback. The lake and neighborhood are not affected by the mistake, and the violation was not caused by intent. Therefore, I think the deck is consistent with the purpose of controls, considering it's less than half the deck is in violation. Number 2 is a property owner proposing that use of property in a reasonable manner, not permitted by the official controls. A lakeside deck's a reasonable structure on the lake, does not affect the lake or view of the neighborhood, and was part of the original plan. Number 3 is a need for a variance due to circumstances unique to the property and not created by the current or prior owner. My comment to that was the applicant contends that his marked setbacks are what was flagged in 2012, and he built accordingly. The new survey indicated a 12-foot variation, or it'll be 10 now. That new marking is what causes the violation, and was not created by the owner. And then I think numbers 4 and 5, we can accept the staff's report.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Does anybody have a second?
This is Tim, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ken to approve a 12 by 32 deck, not 14. And he created the findings of facts for 1 through 3 and adopted staff's 4 and 5. We have a second by Tim. I'll take a vote. Tim, how do you vote?
It's Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
It's Mike, I vote nay.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica, I vote nay, but your application has been approved. You'll be receiving a decision letter from Environmental Services Office and to give you the guidelines for the next steps. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next item on the agenda. Variance application 40-B-24 by William and Julie Erickson, Lot 2 and part of Lot 3, Ridgewood, Section 11, Township 140, Range 35, Todd Township on Fishhook Lake, a recreational development lake. Parcels 27.51.00200 and 27.51.00310. Applicants are requesting a variance from sections 502.2 and 801 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance and Article, is that 10? 5? What is B? What is this?
What?
Article what?
This is 5.
Article 5, there we go. Section 1 of the surface sewage treatment system ordinance for a septic system drain field to be located within the 150-foot ordinary high watermark setback and the 10-foot side lot line setback. Do we have the applicants available? Okay, it appears that we do not have the applicants here this evening. The applicants were not at lot view either, if I recall right. Does the board have any questions or comments? Would they like to carry on with this application and move forward?
I think we could carry on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody else agree? Okay. All right. So the request for the record is to, for a variance from the 150-foot ordinary high watermark drain field setback requirement and the 10-foot side lot line setback, citing mature trees in the area where the 150-foot ordinary high watermark setback can be met. The applicants would like to retain as the practical difficulty. A 130-foot ordinary high watermark drain field setback and a 1.5-foot side lot line setback are requested. As the property was recently surveyed, the Shoreland Management Ordinance allows the proposed drain field to be placed within the 10-foot side lot line setback without the need for the variance because the survey located the property line to ensure the system is not placed over the line. During lot views, I do remember we had some concerns about it being a very low area and snow melt.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that. This is Tim. Yes, I did look at that, and where it's proposed, though it's slight, is higher than where those trees were. And it actually went deeper towards that ditch, so, I think the proposed area is the spot myself.
Yeah, this is Ken. I know the staff report indicated that Eric would like to see the situations as, to help understand whether in fact we could meet the 150-foot setback. I was wondering what his view after the visit.
Eric speaking, I would agree with Tim, who, just for the record, is a licensed septic designer, inspector. Where the drain field is proposed is not ideal, but it is better than where it would be elevationally if it was placed at the 150-foot setback. In compliance with the setback would be at the lowest point of the available space on that lot, and that would not be a good location.
Okay.
So this is better than where it would be if it was at the setback in terms of elevation and the system's likelihood of performing properly.
Okay, thank you, Eric, and thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and open for public comment. Okay. Yep. Okay, you may step up to the podium there, please. State your name and address, and you go ahead and write it down as well, please.
Hi, thanks for your opportunity to speak. My name is Karina Copsey, and I'm a neighbor to the east of the proposed variance at our cabin at 13923 Flamingo Drive. My husband was there on Thursday and talked to the county, and I would like to have you guys request, I would like to request you guys honor the existing setbacks. Because of the elevation, the area might be too low, plus it's too close to the lake. And a condition to consider would be the size of their lot is pretty good sized. The trees are pretty big, and new trees might be better because they've been there quite a few years. And I have a couple questions too, if you want.
Go ahead with your questions. We can address them if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
If we can.
If the rule is 10 foot, what is the difference here that they would allow less than a 10-foot setback?
Okay.
Also, will the reduced setback affect our ability to use our lot up to the border because of the overflow, or if it would malfunction? And will the closer spacing affect our drain field and septic system because would be alongside? So
Okay.
thank you for the
Yep.
time.
Appreciate it, thank you. Question number one for you, with the 10-foot side lot line setback, because there was a survey on it and the line was established by a licensed certified professional, then they can go closer knowing that where that line is and they won't encroach over. Generally, that 10-foot side lot line setback is to ensure that there's some flexibility so that people wouldn't go over. The other two questions we had at lot view as well. I had asked that exact same question, as if you had two drain fields side by side. And I'm sure we can get a little bit of information, somewhat maybe.
What was the second question?
One question was having the drain fields together, working closely together. If one would permeate the surface, or the ground as the other.
If this proposed one would affect your septic in
Right.
any way?
Correct.
No. It's, the soil's opinion shows it's sand, everything goes down.
Thanks. Okay.
Yep. And the other one was about trees? Was
Yeah.
about the trees?
Yeah, that was the reason for the request.
And
I think that
The,
seems
in my opinion, the trees really don't matter to me.
correct.
They-
I agree
They
that
die
they
every day,
they
so
shouldn't.
it's,
they
it's just a better spot, actually, where it's designed, in my opinion.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, I will close public comment.
motion?
Absolutely, yes.
This is Tim. I'll make a motion to approve application 40-V-24. Number one is the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls. I say yes. It's, the system is in the best usable area, the furthest away from the lake it can be, and meeting all other setbacks from wells and houses. Number two is a property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner, not permitted by an official control. Yes, a compliant working septic is reasonable.
Would help. Yeah, it helps.
Number three is a need for a variance due to circumstances unique to the property and not created by the current or prior property owners. Yes, the lot was created in 1961, predating the shoreland ordinance, and the lot width is narrow at that building setback area. It pinches the septic area. The well is on the other side, so the circumstances are unique to this. And I'll adopt staff's 4 and 5.
Okay, thank you, Tim. We have a motion by Tim to approve the application as presented. He created findings of facts 1 through 3 and adopted staffs 4 and 5. Anybody here to make a second?
This is Larry, I'll second.
Okay, and a second by Larry. Tim, how do you vote?
Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. Application has been approved. Moving on to the next one. Variance application 41-V-24 by Lisa Gorick, part of Government Lot 8, Section 36, Township 143, Range 32, Lakeport Township on Cabacona River, a tributary. Parcel 19.36.00212. The applicant is requesting after-the-fact variances from Section 502.7 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance for several accessory structures, decks, and platforms to be located within the 150-foot ordinary high watermark structure setback, and Sections 801.2 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance, and Section 1.01 of the Subsurface Sewage Treatment System Ordinance for placing an impervious surface area platform partially over the septic system drain field. Okay, and we have the authorized agent present. Can you go ahead and please state your name and address?
Tammy Schatzko, 10189 Westway Northwest, Bemidji, Minnesota.
Perfect, thank you. And if you want to please give us an overview of the request for the applicant.
She has 8 structures that were flagged as violations after a site visit in May. She received a letter on June 13th. 3 of the structures were there when she purchased the property, and she's asking for an after-the-fact variance on them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Which 3 were there before?
Number 4, 5, and 7. So it was the big log storage building to the back, the I call it a outdoor kitchen entertaining bar type thing, and then the paving surface that was underneath the bar.
And we have established that the structure on the back, that one that we had open during lot view, that one was permitted.
Number 4 was already permitted?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, staff had noted that. Number 4 is not a violation as it was properly permitted
Okay.
and now legal non-conforming.
This is Mike. When did the current owner purchase this property?
May of 2021.
So other than the 3 structures that we were just talking about, the current owner put in place, had built all of the other
Correct.
items?
Correct. The only thing she didn't build was the old hickory shed that is right at the end of the driveway. That was just brought in as a structure and is on cement.
But she brought that in.
She brought it in, sorry, yes.
Thank you.
This is Veronica speaking, was the applicant just unaware that permits are required?
Had no clue.
Okay. Has the applicant given you any indications of top priority of keeping things where they're at? Or like
All of
what she's wanting to get rid of and
She
not
doesn't want-
keep?
So the building, or I'm sorry, the property is on the market right now. She has already moved out to Wyoming. You know,
So
she would
it's,
love to keep it all. I will say that for the rock paver platform number 8, she was told by Integrity Earthworks that they had contacted the county and gotten permission to build it. That is one thing she did share with me. That'd be the one right underneath the fire pit on the, but I tried to call him like 3 times and he wouldn't return my calls. And I don't think we have any paper proof of anything,
okay,
just his word.
sure, okay, thank you. So the applicant purchased the property in 2021.
Correct.
But is now selling the property.
Correct.
Okay. I guess before we get too further, I'm just gonna go ahead and open for public comment. And we do have public comment.
Gary Kennedy, 33069 State 200, 2 properties to the east.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kennedy, and thank you for writing it in the log.
For the property, overall, we don't have any ill will feeling or anything for the structures that are there. However, based on your county ordinances and stuff, I have a hard time accepting the fact of after the fact in a case like this. Whether she did it herself unintentionally or whatever, but if she had builders there, they should have known to check with the county for permits, for all this type of stuff to do it. Your decisions, I don't know, I had a list here. I know we talked a little bit at the walkthrough a little bit. Whatever your decisions are can affect what I do on my property down the road and whatever any other people in the county on in the shoreline ordinance and stuff. Every time I've done anything within the county, I've called, I sent an email to Eric, he knows that, many times, just simple questions, yes, no, do I need, you know, a permit, yes or no or not or something, or I've even came in and spent money for the county, you know, to get my permits and stuff like that. I just want, you know, and I know you guys work at it, you try at it to be consistent across the board, across the county, and I appreciate that, you got a tough job. I don't know, I didn't want to use the term, ignorance of the law doesn't count, in my opinion. And that's just about it, and, if she sells the property for a high rate, maybe I can sell mine for a high thing too, you know, I don't know, just with the property on there. But I just feel that, there's no excuse, and the other thing is if builders did it, you need to find out who it is, blacklist them from the county, because they're lying, they're not doing things properly. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any further public comment? Okay, it appears there's no more public comment, so I'll close public comment. Okay, have any questions or comments from my colleagues?
This is Mike. I see this as an opportunity. We had an individual that's owned a property for approximately 3 years, and the bulk of the violations were caused by the current owner, and at least to what I see, readily rectified and going with a clean slate for whoever may purchase that property in the future. The exception I would make, I guess we have the permitted shed, that's obviously can stay. I'm not sure there's an advantage to having them remove the patio and outdoor bar. Not their fault, it's there. And I think burying that earth and opening that up may not be worth it, as is the other patio, but I think all other structures that are listed should be removed.
Mike, for clarification, when you say patio, you're talking about the paver underneath the outdoor bar.
I had also entertained the other paver as being, it's there, and I'm not sure if removing it would be more damaging or not. I'm open on that one.
Yeah, because it would be allowed about a 150 square foot thing, and so to tear out half of it wouldn't, okay.
Right. Right.
Okay, thank you, Mike. On the round platform pavers that's on top of the septic, have we established how much of it the septic it's covering and how pertinent that is?
Is that paver over the septic line?
Yes, it's,
Or is it the wood decking behind it?
It's the paver.
it's the paver.
Oh, the paver is, okay.
I'm confident that's pretty insignificant. I've seen it in the past many times. I'm sure it would be bad if it was over the whole thing, but just that corner is not a lot. But having said that, I gotta agree with Mike. Every owner that's had this has had to go through a variance process. It's with the history of the property at every sale. I agree with you, Mike.
Yeah. Okay, this is Veronica speaking. I have questions on some of the property items to stay and some of them to be removed as well. Personally, I would love to see, especially because the owner bought it, now she's selling it, so it would be a perfect time to clean it up, make it back to where it should be, get everything back to compliance as we can. During lot views, I noticed that the sauna and that wood shelter that they have for the wood, for the sauna is actually just on some concrete bricks. Everything's pretty much easily, they can be removed or moved to the proper locations. I agree the bar and 12 by 14 paver could remain, and even this round pavers, but everything else should be removed and placed accordingly. It would have to still have some type of variance, so we'll have to verbally say, remove all wooden platforms, and I have a list here of which ones they are, and relocate each storage building, and we'd have to give it a position if they're going to remain, otherwise they have to be removed entirely. So we have to be specific.
This is kind of a little clarification. There is a garden down in the background of this picture by that garden shed and platform. That garden is not in contention at all.
It's the wooden boxes that are within the garden.
The thing you can kind of see fenced in way in the background
Right.
is basically a garden. That's not in violation of any setback requirements,
They weren't listed.
okay? And the dog cage or whatever it is that you can kind of see in the picture with the lattice, that's not in contention or violation either.
That's a garden and
Yeah, fencing.
When we say we want to get rid of all this,
Just the
except
violations
those
listed.
two are okay to stay as they are.
I was referring to the violations themselves.
Yeah. So as I read that, if I look at the violation letter that was sent to Lisa Gorick, that there's 8 things listed, and I think we've just talked about number 4 being the shed the DNR has approved, and number 5 is the bar, and 7 is the platform under the bar. We would allow those, and everything else listed would have to be removed, if that's what I'm understanding.
Number 8, I would
Oh, yeah,
okay.
A2, yes, good point.
And this is Veronica speaking, and I don't necessarily mean removed. They could be relocated and behind where there's actual areas so that it could meet the setback. And it still has to have the variance, which is what we would be including. but it could certainly be removed
There's
as
not
well.
mu- There's not much room because of the easement from Highway 200 that runs just behind the house. I don't, they could be,
Right,
but
but if we go back to, there's a photo that shows behind the bar and the house, the side of the house. And between this,
oh, sure.
this
okay.
one and this back here, there's room to place the sauna
A few
if they
feet.
wanted to have a sauna, yeah.
Okay, good point.
I mean, there's some room, they can move the sauna to retain the sauna.
Yeah.
To the north side of the highway.
Pardon me? Oh, all the
Northern
way
Nevis.
to that side?
Yep. The setbacks overlap on the south side of the highway and the 150-foot
Right, so it-
setbacks overlap.
But it can only remain with the after the fact if it's where it's at, or if we say it can be moved in a different location to remain, or just scratch it entirely, would be cleanest.
Well, with a variance approval, you could say it could move further away from the river and stay on the south side of the highway, but then we'd have to grant a variance from the right-of-way setback
Okay.
to do that. And just a technical comment, because we have 7 different things at issue here, doing a partial approval, partial denial will probably best be handled with 2 separate findings of fact to address, items
If any are.
3, et cetera, in one motion to approve those and do a separate motion with separate findings for the ones that are denied.
Okay, thank you, Eric, for the clarification and guidance.
This is the best, that's the list I use right there. That came from the violation letter.
Correct, yes, same here. Okay, so, well, any other comments then by staff as far as cleaning up this site and what they'd like to see? I have heard from 3, 2 or 2.5, 3. Personally, myself, this is Veronica speaking, I am open to cleaning it up as well, getting it back to similar at least to what it was prior, if the applicant's not going to be there anyhow.
This is Mike. I'm most inclined to do 2 separate motions, one to approve the 4 items we talked about, the second denying the rest of the items, and I would not be interested in trying to spell out locations here because they involve a variance on 2 different
Features, yep.
features there and where exactly which one would we want. If the applicant would like to reapply for a specific variance for one of those structures denied, I'd rather go that way.
So she would need to, for the ones that are gonna be denied, if she wanted to move them to the other side of the highway, she would need to apply.
No, if she moved them from to the other side of the highway, she would, I believe, could be able to do it by permit.
Just have to meet the 50-foot setback from the edge of the right-of-way.
We're talking if she wants to keep them on the south side of the highway where the shoreland, the setback from the high water mark and the setback from the highway right-of-way overlap. I'd rather deal with specific locations on that if we're having to approve a variance.
Right. Yeah, so like the locations that I mentioned beside the house and beside the shed, then if this goes the way and everything has to be removed, then she could come back and say, I'd like to place a sauna here, in
And
this.
go through this process again of,
Correct, asking for permission to put it at whatever specific place
Okay.
that she would like.
Cleanest for us just to deny.
Yeah, exactly, that's the cleanest route. So, yep, okay, anybody care to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
This is Mike on application 41-V-24. I vote to approve items number 4. The storage the storage building is already permitted, is that correct? So does not, no actions needed there. But items number 5, the outdoor bar. Item 7, the paver platform underneath the bar. And number 8, the rock paver platform. Approve those and the findings of facts. So I get to the right spot here. Is the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls? Say yes, the areas to have an outdoor barbecue and a small paver, a paver platform that slightly exceeds what we would allow by permit is reasonable on this property. Is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by an official control? Yes, most lake homes have some type of small patio on the lake side and also have outdoor grill facilities, so it's a reasonable use. Is the need for the I'll adapt staff finding number 3. Is the number 4, will the issuance of the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? Yes, it's lakeshore, it's not visible from either the highway or very little from these items won't really be seen, hardly seen from the water. Does the stated practical difficulty involve more than just economic considerations? And adapt the staff findings of fact on that.
Okay, thank you, Mike. We have a motion by Mike to approve the outdoor bar, the 12 by 14 platform underneath that bar. So that's number 5 and number 7. And number 8, the rock paver that is slightly over the septic system drain field. He provided findings of facts for 1, 2, 4, and adopted staffs 3 and 5. Do we have a second? Okay, this is Veronica. I second the motion. Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye to approve those pieces of this after the fact.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a second motion.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
This is Mike on variance application 41V24. I make the motion that we deny all other items that are in violation and no variance be granted. Findings of fact, is the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls? No, the sheer number of items that are in violation makes it not within general purposes. Is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by an official control? And again, I would say no, this number of structures that are in violation is not reasonable. Adopt number 3, and is the need for the variance due to circumstances unique to the property and not created by the current property owners, has to do with that 150-foot and 50-foot setbacks that overlap, so adopt yes there. Will the variance maintain the essential character of the locality? No, this number of structures is different than mostly what we see in these situations. And adopt number 5 as a yes, does not include economic considerations.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Mike to deny the rest of the after-the-fact application 41-V-24, which includes all wooden platforms, removing the storage buildings, and removing the sauna, and removing the lean-to, anything else listed on the violation letter. We provided findings of facts for 1, 2, and 4, and adopted staff's numbers 3 and 5. Does anybody have a second?
This is Larry, I second.
Okay, and we have a second by Larry. Tim, how do you vote?
Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye to deny the other part of the after-the-fact variance. So you'll receive a letter, a decision letter for both items, and then giving her guidance on what to do. And last, we've already visited that if there's anything that she, in the future, wants to see if she can move back for during the sale process, then that would be the way to go, is asking for a variance and where she wants them specifically located. So,
Thank you all for your
Yep.
time, I appreciate it.
thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, variance application 42-B-24 by Randy and Christine Lake. Lot 7, Palmer Pines, First Edition, Section 29, Township 139, Range 33, Crow Wing Lake Township, on Palmer Lake, a natural environment lake. Parcel 06.44.00600, applicants are requesting a variance from Section 704.1 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance to allow an unimproved, non-conforming lot that doesn't meet the 150-foot minimum lot width to be converted to an improved lot. Do we have the applicants? Perfect, okay. Please come to the presenters table. When you're comfy, state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Christine Lake. Randy Lake, address 3363 109th Avenue, Monongah, Minnesota.
Okay, perfect. And if you could, please give us your request.
So we are asking for a variance from 704.1 of the Shoreland Management Ordinance to allow our non-conforming, unimproved lot to be converted to an improved lot, which would thus allow us to put a septic system. We'd then build a new cabin at the 150-foot setback while retaining the old structure, converting it to storage, and then removing the other two buildings to clean up our lot.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have any questions from the board?
Just to confirm, along with this application, you are committed to remove two of the structures that are there, storage structures, and you'd like to retain the existing cabin as a storage building?
Correct.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, just for the record, I just wanted to clarify, again, the applicant is seeking approval to allow the substandard 31,371 square foot, 100-foot wide platted lot that was created in 1964 to be converted into an improved lot. The lot currently already has this residence, but they want to remove all of the interior components that make it a cabin so they can build a new home that meets the setbacks, so. Most of the lots in this plat are improved, and the application shows that the house can be placed on the lot in compliance with all setbacks and drain fields, so I don't have anything against the proposal. I'm in favor. I know we did discuss stuff at the lot view that if you wanted to maybe change things up, and since we hadn't heard from you, I assumed you're going forward with the current plan, so.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open for public comment. Close for public comment.
This is Mike. Just to make sure it's stated for the record that if this is approved, the existing cabin is converted to storage, that it cannot be used for sleeping, any kind of living quarters. This is a substandard lot, and we've been very consistent in not allowing guest cabins on substandard lots. So I'm not sure we need a condition because it's stated right in the ordinance, but I just want to state that for the record. I'm okay with the proposal, but with the understanding that this existing cabin can only be used for storage.
Mike, this is Ken. I think we might want to be a little explicit about making it non-livable. For instance, refrigerator, stove, beds need to be removed. I don't think the sink area, because there's no water there anyway, but those. And the other thing is there is a wood stove that would accommodate livable conditions if you want. I would add that, I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I think the wood stove, the cooking stove, the refrigerator, and beds have to be removed, so it's clearly a storage thing.
This is Mike, I'm okay with that.
This is Tim, would the deck stay?
Yeah. I don't think you'd want to tear that down.
Yeah, I think the potential damage and for that hillside in tearing that down, it wouldn't be worth it. And if they wanted to use that as a deck, you know, that's not what I would call livable quarters. It's outside. But I wonder if we would have a condition that if ever this building needs to be replaced, it has to meet setbacks.
That'd be pretty, that would be a good condition to add.
Yeah.
Do you understand that condition?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yep.
You would be okay with
Yeah.
that? So.
And then my question to you is, the deck could be retained, that would be our, okay, yeah, I'm totally good with
Okay.
that.
Okay, is anybody prepared to make a motion?
Did we do public?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Make the motion on application 42V24 that we approve with the following conditions: that the existing cabin can only be used for storage, and the wood stove, refrigerator,
Beds.
and
bed-
beds have to be removed. And if the cabin is ever replaced, it has to be replaced to meet all setbacks. And I'll accept the staff findings of fact.
Okay, thank you, Mike. We have a motion to approve the application as presented with the two conditions. The existing cabin is for storage use only, turning it into an accessory structure, removing all components, bed, stove, refrigerator, etc., as listed by Mike. And number two is if the accessory structure is ever to be rebuilt, it needs to be moved to a location that complies with setbacks. We have a second?
This is
Larry,
Ken,
second.
I'll second it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna go with that Larry seconded this motion. And we had, if I didn't say so, Mike accepted the staff's findings of fact. So we have a motion by Mike with two conditions, second by Larry. Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica, I vote aye. Your application has been approved for your lot, and you'll receive a decision letter from Environmental Services Department within a few days or so, and giving you guidance on next steps for whatever you do in the future, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. Variance application 43-B-24 by Dennis Fisher, part of the west half of the northwest quarter, section 8, township 144, range 32, Heart Lake Township, parcel 10.08.00100. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 4 of the subdivision ordinance to subdivide a property by administrative subdivision within 5 years of a prior administrative subdivision. Okay, thank you. You want to go ahead and state your name, please? I know you're the authorized agent.
Gary Freeman, authorized agent for Mr. Fisher, 8381 Lakeland Trail Northwest, Walker, Minnesota.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Freeman. Go ahead and give us a little overview of the request for the applicant.
In 2021, Mr. Fisher divided off the north 15 acres of his 80 acres by administrative subdivision by description. You know, there was not a survey done of it. He then had somebody recently approach him, wanted to buy 55 acres, and he was gonna retain 10. So we started into the process, and that's when we discovered he was within, 3 years ago, he did the first administrative subdivision. We had the option, didn't know till a couple days before it was due, to do a minor subdivision, but we decided to go with the variance to allow the split within the 5 years.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. are the applicants aware that if you were to use the minor subdivision application with that 55 acres, they could still subdivide in the near future? If they wanted, do you know what the new seller or buyers would want to do with that 55 acre tract?
I'm not sure what they want to do, but they, they could do that in the future if they wanted, yes. I don't know that they wanted to buy the 55 acres and he was going to retain 10.
Okay, do you have any questions from the board? Okay, if we don't have any questions yet, I'm gonna go ahead and open for public comment. Seeing none, I'm gonna close public comment. This is Veronica speaking again. What discouraged the owner from utilizing the minor subdivision, since you were given the opportunity prior?
He was not aware that he could do that, or that that was an option. I learned about the minor subdivision on Friday when everything was due on the following Monday. And the people wanted to buy the 50, that would have set us aside another month. And the people want to get the 55 acres and proceed with that.
That would lead us to putting a condition on this that any further subdivision can only be done in compliance with the ordinance for timeframes and subdivision applications.
That would be fine.
That's the only reason, Ken, that I was asking if the buyers were aware of that, because the buyers definitely would have to wait, but if it was done with the subdivision, a minor subdivision, the buyers would not have to wait.
Would the buyers have to wait if they went through the minor?
The 5-year waiting period applies to the entire property as it currently stands, so they could still make use of the minor subdivision option if they wanted to.
Okay.
So a new buyer could subdivide right after purchasing this.
With a minor subdivision.
Right.
With the minor,
Yeah, with the
okay,
Can't do it through administrative subdivision.
okay.
This is Mike. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
This is Mike. I make the motion that we approve variance application 43V-24. And for the staff findings of fact, except one edit on number 2 to change that to a yes. I believe it was inadvertently checked no. On 3, is the need for the variance due to circumstances unique to the property and not created by the current or prior property owners? The current owner could have gone to a minor subdivision and done that without a variance, and based on timing and other factors, chose to go this way. So it's not out of the norm and it meets all requirements, so yes, and accept number 4 and 5 of the staff's findings of fact.
Okay, I have a motion by Mike to approve the application as presented, adopting the staff's findings of facts 1, 2, 4, and 5, putting a mark on yes on number 2, and creating number 3. Anybody have a second?
This is Tim, I'll second.
Okay, and we have a second by Tim. Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
This is Ken, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
I'm actually gonna back up. Are we not gonna put any other conditions then? You're good to go. Okay. And this is Veronica. I vote aye. The application has been approved.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'll stay here.
Yes, you will. Thank you. Last item. Okay. Next item on the agenda, Variance application 44-B-24 by Ben and Tammy Ott, part of the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter, section 28, Township 140, range 33, Nevis Township, parcel 21.28.01900. The applicants are requesting a variance from section 7, subdivision D 12A2 of the subdivision ordinance to deviate from the 66-foot minimum width platted private road right-of-way requirement. And I know we have the authorized agent. If you could, again, please state your name and address for the record.
Terry Freeman with Northern Engineering, 8381 Lakeland Trail, Northwest Walker.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Freeman. And you can proceed with the request.
Okay, the odds are going to do a plat called Destination Estates. And when we initially laid that out, there's a 37-foot easement on the track that's in the northeast corner of that 40. And we were gonna utilize that 37 feet as part of the 66-foot right-of-way coming in. But the ordinance requires that there be a full 66-foot outlot A if it's gonna be a private road. So we reformed our initial plat to make a 66-foot outlot A right-of-way through there. But then we would have like a 103-foot wide swath of easement through there, or roadway and easement. The road's built in the middle of what would have been the 66 feet. It's my understanding that the road in a private roadway does not need to be necessarily in the middle of the right-of-way. So we would leave the road where it is. And so we're requesting to be able to use the 37-foot easement that's in the northern, it's the first 314 feet coming in, to utilize that as part of the 66-foot right-of-way for the plat.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
I have a question. How far exactly, again, was the existing road in that easement?
The existing easement came in 314 feet from the center line of the county road.
But where we come off the county road, how far is it up into that easement?
The easement is,
37?
takes up about 2/3 of the roadway.
Okay,
So there's roughly about 10 feet of road that's outside of the 37-foot easement.
so before this plat was proposed, that road was legal to be used to go in and access this property? That existing road that's there off the county was legal to use to enter that property?
Yeah, that 37-foot easement was reserved for a means of accessing the property that's now proposed to be platted.
And we can't use any part of that for the new 66 feet? That's what the variance is about then?
Right. The ordinance requires, when you choose to use a private road as opposed to a public road for providing access to lots in a plat, the right-of-way must be 66 feet wide.
On the plat.
Yep.
And if I remember, if we required the 66-foot to accommodate the 7 lots in the outlot area, the road could still remain there and go over that easement area. They wouldn't have to move the road if that easement still exists. But the plat needs to show a 66-foot access that's co-owned with the 7 lots.
Correct.
Is a thought, that easement is there because that lot that's in that corner, what is it, was that northeast corner? I don't know what
Yes,
it is.
yep.
Is it that size because, the requirement's 2 1/4 acres? And so it had to be that size. And just to think outside of the box, would a variance that transferred that easement to the outlot, and then just give a variance that the existing lot could be maybe 2 acres. I think it's about a quarter acre that easement is. Would that be an easier thing to do? Would we be willing to do that?
This is Mike. I'd be willing to do that if they applied for another variance specifically for that. In lieu of that, I'm mostly inclined to deny the request and have the full 66-foot easement, whether it's used for their road or not at that time. It protects all the future buyers of these lots that they have actual ownership and rights to that easement. I don't see it with that easement where it affects any of the other lots as far as meeting minimum sizes or as far as what the building parameters, what they could or couldn't do on their lot based on that 66-foot easement. I think it's just a protection for the future owners, so we're not revisiting that. If in fact the owner chooses then to ask for a variance, they could certainly do that, but they're not forced to create a new road. It's just protection for the future.
I support Mike.
Okay, before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment. Okay, seeing no public comment, I will close public comment. Yeah, this is Veronica speaking. This is a difficult request, being that there is obvious room to have a 66-foot road right-of-way there.
Excuse me, do you mind if I do speak?
Mr. Ott, if you'd like to speak, you may come to the presenters table and state your name and address. And then yes, absolutely.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Benjamin Ott. I live 17075.
Speak to the microphone.
I'm Benjamin Ott. I live at 17075 County Road 13. Originally, when I did the subdivision, or the original split of the 3 acres, I was not aware of what I was going to do with the rest of the property. I didn't take that into consideration. In the meantime, when we started doing this development, I didn't realize the ordinances that you had in place. And I assumed that we could take that easement and incorporate it into the new, I was going to do a township road. So it was actually designed as a township road with the gravel and the ditches and culverts. There again, I didn't do research and didn't realize that Nevis Township requires a 9-ton paved road, which is kind of extreme. So anyways, it is set up as a township gravel road, but I can't turn it over to the township unless it's 9-ton paved. But anyways, that being said, it doesn't necessarily make sense to me to have a 109-foot width of easement and private road together. Because say, what if the gentleman that bought the back lot decides that he doesn't want to pay the $500 per year for maintenance, and he puts his own little private drive in there, and then have a private drive and a private road next to each other, and have 109 feet. I guess that's really the.
That easement, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
That
go ahead.
easement was done only to accommodate access to the second lot in
Yes.
here
Originally,
originally.
yes,
There is a lot, 2¼ acre lot there, right?
correct. Yes. And honestly, if I would have known all this previously, when I did all this, I would have just made the
Yeah.
farther lot back farther, a little smaller, and incorporated more into that front lot that's on County Road 13 with the farmhouse.
Is that redoable?
No, because I sold the back portion and I sold the other lot, so I can't.
Without
rework
buying
it
a quarter acre or something from them.
back, right? But then I have a problem because I also sold the back lot too, so. So the front lot on 13, I own that with the house. The lot behind that, that's 2¼ acres, which the easement services that one. That one is sold, and also the bigger section behind that, that's 5
Is
acres
sold.
or so is sold.
And how do they access the large one through this one back here that was
There's an easement that comes off a cul-de-sac. You're talking about the bigger 5-acre lot?
I'm talking about this upper one here, yeah, this one. Yeah, how do they get to that?
That joins the property owner to the north. And he incorporated that property to his property. So that's the only way he can access that is from his property.
Okay,
He doesn't have access off, there's an easement off a cul-de-sac on that
okay, and so,
road that he doesn't have access necessarily to use that to get to his.
okay, and so parcel with the last digits 1910 here.
Yes.
How does somebody get to that one?
That one, there's an easement that runs.
That's that one, but it stops right there at the corner, does it? It kind of turns right there? That's it? That little spot there?
Yep, that goes
That's just
to that
it.
middle lot,
Okay.
yep, that's the original easement we put in
And the
place.
back lot comes out the other way.
It comes
Right.
out all the way the other way, yes.
But that lot is still fronts, what's labeled here Destination Drive, where it goes to the west of the current easement. That lot doesn't butt that road, correct? What's being shown in the plat, in your drawings?
Which lot are you referring to?
That one right there.
Yeah, that one is,
It abuts the existing road that you're showing here, so with or
Yes.
without the easement, that lot would
that's
have
actually
access.
where his driveway's coming off of now is actually off that new proposed private road. Yes.
You just shift those two property lines over
And
about
all the lots
30 feet.
that I have there are paying $500 per year for the private road maintenance. And then also Terry asked me about the three lots that I have, that comes off the end of that cul-de-sac. Also, yes, in that area, is also paying $500, for road maintenance per year. So it's a total of 10. That's another conversation for the next meeting here. So there again, I'll just, my big thing is I look at the 109 foot, just doesn't make sense because then technically you can have 2 roads side by side, 2 private drives in a sense.
This is Mike, nothing in the ordinance requires you to build the second road. You can continue to use the road on that. What I personally am looking at is not making additional work or problems going down in the future,
Right.
where if there would be one of these owners that has a conflict, he still has a legal right, whether he can build a road or they can build a road or whatever, that remains to be seen. But it takes, future, I guess it just protects the future owners, and that's why I see why the ordinance is in place, and I don't see a hardship by denying the application and requiring the plat to show that 66 feet. How you resolve that, you have a number of things that you could or couldn't do, or you may do in the future, but that would be up to you and have to be looked at within what the ordinance states.
Now, the one thing I do have to look at is, I believe when we did the sale of that middle lot that has the easement, I want to say that we eliminated the easement for that and designated the destination drive as his access.
That doesn't change anything on this, as far as I can see. Their access can be anywhere along that destination drive. it doesn't affect whether that easement is in place or not.
Without an easement, you'd be forced into this configuration, because that, you couldn't go across that lawn.
True. There again, I could I own the property where the easement goes through. I could, change my legal description and let that easement property go with that private drive. Would that be a possibility?
And require,
It would just clean up the whole, survey.
yeah, it would require a variance because that lot wouldn't meet the 2.25 acre minimum if you conveyed the easement
Right.
to the plat.
And this is Veronica speaking. I agree with that. That's what should be done. And I agree with Mike that the proper way to go through this preliminary plat is to not allow that, allow it as it's, not allow this variance to go as it is stated here. You would go through a different variance. Correct? So. Any other comments, questions? Ready for a motion?
Well, just, Ken, I'm fully supportive of Mike that I think we absolutely need to preserve that 66 foot access for outlot A for those, for their long-term protection. How you solve the rest of the problem, options exist.
Right, correct. Agreed.
And why can't you do that 66 feet, that easement in the 66 feet?
Separate property.
Yeah, and he could do that with a different variance application if he provided a variance application that reduces that minimum lot width requirement from a 2.25 down to whatever it would be minus that easement.
Terry and I looked at that, and that lot in the northeast corner is just at the 2.25 acres inclusive of that easement. So if you convey that easement to the property that will be platted, then it causes that lot in the northeast corner to fall below the 2.25 acres.
Yeah, but that's why I was thinking if the road's mostly on it, doesn't it already do it less than 2.25 going to the private?
But you don't have to include that easement in your 2.25. The only thing you gotta
okay.
take out is the public road right away on
Oh.
13th. That comes out. It's
The
like at
public
2.5 acres now, but when you take out the 33 feet of County Road 13 right away, you get down to the 2.25.
Well, wait a minute. The easement, if you include the easement in that lot, that's 2.5 acres.
No.
It's 2.25 with the easement.
Correct.
You sure?
Yep.
Oh, it must be because you have other offsets, or
It's 2.5.
easements other. If you do the calculation with the numbers, you get 2.5, but that doesn't include any easement from County 13 and stuff, so
Right.
that, okay. That complicates it. Well, I'm still in favor of denying the variance.
Okay, this is Veronica. I'm ready to make a motion unless someone else is. Okay, yep, this is Veronica. I make a motion that we deny the variance 44-B-24. And we accept the staff's findings of facts. Do I have a second?
This is Ken, I'll second it.
Tim, with a motion made by myself to deny the application as presented for variance 44-B-24, adopting the staff's findings of facts. Ken seconded the motion. Tim, how do you vote?
I vote nay.
Ken, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mike, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
This is Larry, I vote nay.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye. The application has been denied. And now we can move forward to the next item. on to the planning commission part of the meeting. First thing is first, we need the approval of the July 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any questions or comments for the planning commission meeting minutes? And is anyone prepared for a motion?
This is Larry. I move we accept the minutes.
Okay. Okay, this is Veronica. I second that. So we have a motion by Larry, second by myself, to approve the planning commission meeting minutes as presented. Tim, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
Would I?
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. Vote aye, 5-0. The minutes have been approved. Moving on, there's no old business. Going to the new business, preliminary plat application of Destination Estates by Ben and Tammy Ott, part of the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter, section 28, township 140, range 33, Nevis Township, parcel 21.28.01900. The applicants are requesting to plat 26.4 acres into 7 lots. And here we go one more time.
Okay.
Please state your name and address for the record, Mr. Freeman.
Terry Freeman with Northern Engineering, 8381 Lakeland Trail, Northwest Walker.
Okay, thank you, and Mr. Ott.
Benjamin Ott. I reside at 17075 County Road 13, Nevis, Minnesota.
Okay, thank you. All right, and go ahead and, for the record, give us a little more information on this Destination Estates.
I think it's pretty straightforward. Ben and Tammy want to plat 7 lots, called Destination Estates. That plat name's been approved. They want to call the drive in there Destination Drive. That'll be the public name on it, but on the plat, it'll be Outlot A. As part of Outlot A, there will be an undivided interest of all the lot owners in Outlot A. Off the cul-de-sac, remember there's a gate down there. That's a driveway that goes, it's a 33-foot easement that goes to 3 10-acre parcels that are behind the Ott's house. As Ben stated earlier, there's also the 7 lot owners and the 3 10-acre parcels will all be paying a $500 a year maintenance on the road on Destination Drive. Those 3 people would have to take care of their own 33 up to the cul-de-sac, so there'll be $5,000 a year for road maintenance for that group. Site evaluations are all good. Lot areas and sizes and buildable areas, all good.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions pertaining to this?
Just to confirm from the staff report that the proposed plot layout does meet all ordinance requirements.
Yes, it absolutely does.
I believe also Eric indicated that the county engineer has looked at it and does not require a turn lane to enter the property. The location for the access is good and it would not require a turn lane.
Perfect, thank you. I was going to ask that question. Okay, and for the record, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment. And seeing none, I close public comment.
Can I ask, Destination Drive is not a township road, it's a private road to this access? Okay.
At this time, I believe Mr. Ott said if it becomes a township road, it must be paved.
Yeah, that won't happen.
Thanks, Henrietta. Nevis.
Nevis. Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments? It appears to be pretty straightforward on this part. I guess this question could be for Eric. Moving forward with the variance being denied and moving forward with this preliminary plat, if in the future, however, close or far, the applicants decide to try to do something with the easement, is that going to change this preliminary plat outline?
Yeah, Eric speaking, yes, if they would submit a variance to allow that lot abutting the plat in the northeast corner to be reduced in size, and then that easement be included in the plat as part of the outlot, then that would cause
Start
a
as part.
revision to that outlot
Okay.
as depicted where it comes into County 13.
Okay.
Would, just a question, would we need to start over with the preliminary, or could that change be made at the final? If they chose to go that way?
It's not a significant change in my mind, but, you know, it would depend on the timing of when this gets, if I present this to the county board, it would be well, it would be at their, second meeting in September, which would be prior to, you know, we've already had our application deadline for getting on the September Board of Adjustment meeting agenda was today. So you'd be looking at October for the variance application to be potentially considered. So, you know, it all depended on the county board ultimately of whether they felt that was enough of a change that it would require the prelim to get revisited, or if they'd be comfortable with that change occurring potentially and just being depicted on the final.
County board meeting was September 14th, you said?
It would be the third Tuesday in
the third
September.
Tuesday.
I don't know the exact date that would be, but
So I guess questions for the applicant and yourself would be if you wanted to table this or not move forward yet until you completely decide if you're just gonna change the road up or try to change the easement. Or,
it'd be Tuesday, the 17th would be that county board meeting day.
And we should attend that meeting.
Come back with the variance, because we
It's up to you. I mean, if they recommend
So
this,
if we, sorry, but if we move forward with this now, we still can proceed later with the variance and adjust the position of the destination drive later. Correct?
The preliminary plat, the commissioners are likely to give it back to us to confirm as final then, right? Or would the normal process be, if they review it in September, they would approve it as final? It doesn't come back to us.
no, the normal process is the county board would entertain your recommendation on the prelim.
Yeah.
The county board would then potentially say, yes, we give our approval to the prelim, and then for the final plat application, they would make that application. It would then go to the planning commission for action, and then that recommendation brought to the county board for their action on the final plat application.
this is Veronica speaking. What is the time frame between if this gets recommended approval and it is yes? How much time do they have before they have to submit the final plat? Is there a deadline?
No,
Is it a year, I think?
you've got well, the final's gotta be within a year of the prelim, but
Faster than that if
Ben's
you're gonna work
wanna
on
get
stuff, so.
going before that.
Okay.
They could approve this, but it could be changed before it comes back as final. Yeah, okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'm
Mike.
prepared to make a recommendation.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Mike. I move that we recommend to the county board to accept the preliminary plat application of Destination Estates by Ben and Tammy Ott.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
This is Ken, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to recommend approval to the commissioners, Harper County Commissioners, to approve the preliminary plat application as presented. And a second by Ken. Tim, how do you vote?
This is Tim, I vote aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
Aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
And this is Veronica. I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, done with
Okay,
that.
next item would be miscellaneous and communications.
Thanks, guys.
What I would have for you is it's looking like the September meeting agenda is going to be similar in size to this month's meeting agenda. And the other item would be for Ken, Veronica, and Mike. Just a reminder, this Thursday is when we'll be going to the MCIT land use training in St. Cloud, and we'll probably leave the courthouse here at 6:15 a.m. As it starts at 9, registration's at 8:30. And then I think
6:15, Thursday morning.
I'll send an email out tomorrow just as a reminder, but that should give us enough time for a midway break for restrooms and still get there with enough time to spare. That's what I've got.
Anybody care to make any other comments or questions, or ready for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, Ken made a motion to adjourn, second.
Mike, I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. Tim, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Mike, I vote aye.
Larry, how do you vote?
Larry, I vote aye.
Veronica, meeting adjourned.